Hello, hello. I am excited for today's episode. We were talking ahead of time, and I was like, we gotta be recording this because we're having so much fun already. So today I have Holly Hughes with me. She is a TEDx speaker, an award-winning author, and an intuitive healer. You may have heard her voice on one of hundreds of podcasts or networks she's contributed to, drawing inspiration from her journey. Holly channels her life experiences into her writing and her healing practices. When she's not writing, speaking, or helping others live the life they dream about, you may find her dancing, listening to K-pop, or planning her next trip to Seoul. So we got lots to talk about. Holly, I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited. I can't. I just can't. I can't wait to see what comes. Part of me was like, why are we recording in the morning? Like, wouldn't it have been fun if you and I had a glass of wine
Oh, yeah.
and we're gonna
Right.
have to
Well,
do
I'm
that
doing
again.
dry January.
Okay,
So
okay.
I don't know, I'm like 11 days into it. So, but we
I
could do
support
February
that. It's my
1st.
birthday month. I'm just saying, and I'm a lightweight anyway, but like I'm like, oh, baby, if you all enjoy this one, let us know. And then we could do it with a
Do it
glass of
again.
wine. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And my birthday's next month. So are you an Aquarius? Of
Mm-hmm.
course. That's why we like each other. So when I first met Holly, I did like these 15-minute interviews to talk to people about being on the podcast. And we both showed up like cranky as shit. She had on, I think it was yellow. I think you had this beautiful yellow shirt on. And I was like, oh, that's so bright and cheery. And you were like, yeah, I'm really cranky. I needed something to brighten me up. And I was like, I'm cranky too.
Yeah.
So that was our bonding. But what we talked about is that you can be yummy and cranky at the same time. And I just loved that.
100%. I think no, I have this thing for neon yellow that, my teenager doesn't understand what is with that color with me, but it makes me so happy. So yeah, I was cranky. I like to say I'm moody, but I'll tell you about the mood and it's not your responsibility to get me out of the mood.
Right, right.
Which is a lesson I think we need to be teaching people nowadays because we don't have overall there's not a lot of emotional maturity and so I have a teenager. I see many parents make it everything their responsibility to make it better for their kids instead of letting them learn. And it's really hard, trust me, I want to
Right.
jump into, but not letting them learn the lesson of I can get through a hard thing. I can manage a hard thing. Oh my God, I had 17 emotions until I felt better. It took me an hour. It took me 3 days. So usually when I'm cranky, I will tell my family, of course they could tell by my face, but let's just say that I'm in a mood and it's not their job to fix it, but
Right.
they might want to stay away from me for a little
Just a
while.
heads up. Put a big red X on your office door, right?
Yeah,
Don't
totally.
do not enter. Yeah, I don't have children, but I have a husband, and
Mm.
it's been a lesson to have, I'm a fixer, right?
Mm.
That is just my innate nature and not jumping to fix, right? So I am much better at offering, hey, do you want a suggestion? Where in the past I just would be like, hey, you know what you should do, blah, 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 because I know the answer, right? I just know what you should do. I'm much better at not trying to fix everybody's shit. And that
Mm.
took a lot, right? And I'm like you too. Okay, you don't need to fix this. I'm cranky right now, and I just have to work through this.
Right. A lot of with me, I call my husband man candy. With my man candy, if I tell him, oh, this is what, or if I need to vent or say something out loud to process it, he wants to solve the problem. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't need you to solve the problem. He's like, you're
Yeah.
frustrating. I'm like, I know. It's too bad. I just need to say it out loud. And
Right.
then
And that's the difference between men and women too,
mm,
right? Like men do want to fix it. I've had that same conversation with my husband. I'm like, I don't need you to try to solve it. Like this is where I'm just at, and I just need you to know that.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
When I was first practicing vulnerability, because
Mm.
vulnerability is a four-letter word to me, I would just say things like, I need to just say something right now. Please don't respond, but I just have to say it because I used to just go inward and I would literally shut down my and I don't know if you're familiar with attachment styles. I was an avoidant,
Mhm.
and it wasn't that I ran, but I ran inward, and I could go days without actually speaking. And it wasn't even that my husband did anything, but I just couldn't I didn't even know I was a brainy person, right? I lived up here. So like having emotions, I didn't know
Yeah.
what to do with them. So
I
when I
call
was
that surrender. I love the
right,
surrender.
but
Yeah.
but I had to learn that, right? Nobody teaches you how to feel. Right. I have a client that when we first started working together, she's like, I was working with a therapist who just kept saying, how does it feel? How does it feel? How does it feel? She's like, and I didn't know the answer. And I'm like, yeah, because people who don't work with people, I work a lot with women that live in their head. And my job is to teach them how to get into their body.
100%. I do the same a little. You and I work similarly, but I got
Yeah.
different vibration. So also I'd like to tell everyone she was like shuffling cards and my people were arguing with her people. And when I say my people, I mean my guides and the things that I connect to. And I was watching her shuffle and I was like listening to this energetic argument. I was like, well, it's so funny to watch that. Some of my favorite clients that I work with are super successful women. The men are a little different, but with the women, because they're going to think a solution and I dare them and I create safe space for them to bring their, I just call it bringing your breath deeper into your body, to
Mm,
then listen to what your body is feeling and then they can get to the emotion, right? Because we're taught that so many feelings are bad or wrong growing up, or maybe you grew up in a house, whoever's listening, where your parents' feelings were more important than yours. So you didn't go there. You learned how to people please. You learned how to turn on your empath so you could read the room. So you knew who you needed to be and what needed to get done. And many people do that as adults. But I mean, the biggest emotion for me was anger because my father has rage. Like he had a lot of rage. And so like I was 28 going through my awesome Saturn return, was getting rid of my starter marriage. I realized that I couldn't keep living the way I was. I was super successful at work. I lived and worked in LA at the time. I was in film and TV for 18 years. And like when I walked out on set, I was producing at a young age. I was like, doing all these wildly amazing things. And at home, I was like a hot mess personally, right? Which
mm,
is super common. And I had a therapist and I walked in and I know now it was a panic attack, but I didn't know then because, I don't think we had that word in the late 90s, right? And I was like, and she's like, what? And I was like, what is like, I was hyperventilating. She's trying to draw the words out. And I realized I had finally was angry. I was 28 years of a lot of stuff angry, a lot
yeah.
of shit, a lot of loss, a lot of pain, a lot of tragedy in my life. And I had always just shoved it down. Right.
Yeah.
And then it all bubbled up. And I was like, oh, now I like to tell people I have a temper. So I'm super woo-woo, right? And I'm moody. But as a human being, as me, as my individual self, even connected to whatever, I will give you three chances. What you said hurt me. I'm not feeling good. I don't need to talk about this right now. I need time to process. I will give you three chances to hear that, right? And then if you are mean to me or if you lie to me,
Big one for me too. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
then I'm mean.
yeah. And talking about the emotions, think of a young child when they fall and skin their knee and they start crying. What's the first thing the parents say? You're okay. You're
Mhm.
fine. You're okay. Like let them feel the pain. Let them
Mhm.
actually have the temper right? Like we stifle the emotions.
There's like somewhere in between. Did that hurt? How much does it hurt? Are you okay? Is it 1 to
Right.
10? Like
Right.
right. I know people are like, their reaction could be a 50, but it's
Sh-
a two. Oh, okay. So if it's a two, then you can bring it down to two. We have to
Right.
teach people that nowadays too,
Yeah.
because social media only perpetuates the victim and the pain and the bad and the outrage, but it
Yeah.
doesn't give you tools to do anything with that to like be a person in the world.
Right. So we started right in, but why don't you just let's take a step back? Like we're like but share with the listeners like who you are, what you do, how you got here.
So I'm Holly Hughes. I'm an intuitive healer, an author, and a speaker. And I really love helping people through transition points in their life where you might not have the words to explain why things aren't working or why you're not happy. And because I am all the clairs, clairvoyant, clairsentient, all those good things, an empath, I could see dead people. They are annoying. But because I could connect to my spirit guides and yours, I can just help you find language and process the feeling and make a plan that will get you where you want. I have like my Real Not Perfect Academy, that is a 12-week workshop that does it. I have an accelerated version, 8 weeks, for people who think that little bit of 3 months is too much for them. But I really believe in supporting you through that change. And sometimes people have to get used to support because
Yeah.
they are like, I'll just do it myself,
Right.
but
Or
that's
they're
not
not
working.
used to being support. They're the one doing this. Like most of the
Yeah.
women I work with are women that support everyone else.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I get on a call with someone and, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, but if anyone in their life needed the money or the time, they would drop everything for it. Right.
Exactly.
And I often say, I use the old adage of like, you've got to put the mask on you before you put it on
100%.
anyone else. And I said that to a potential client a few years ago, and she was like, that pisses me off. And I was like, ooh, you're not ready for me. Like, if you're not even ready to recognize you need to take care of you in order to take care of everyone else, we're not, I wasn't the right person for her, but it's so important I was kind of, when we started, I was running a little late. I was not, I was here, but I was not as prepared as I normally am. And I was explaining to Holly that for those of you who have been listening, you probably know I'm post-op, almost 3.5 months now, knee replacement. So I'm really trying to create this new routine for myself. And my new routine at the beginning of the year is now taking me 3 to 4 hours every morning. So I'm starting my days later. I'm rarely starting before 10. I do have some days that I start earlier, but I was having breakfast as I was preparing for today because of the timing. And I have to do that for me so that I can hold the space for my clients and the people around me. And we so often forget that. And it's so important.
100%. I think, like, my thing is like with my book is Real Not Perfect, right? How to become your happy, authentic self. Go find it. It's everywhere. But my whole thing about being real, right? It like authenticity became like a buzzword for many people over the past few years. But it's the real you is not the avatar you wear at work. It is like really stripping it down and loving yourself. And just like you're doing, creating the space you need to do what you need to do so that you have the energy and resources to do the things that you like doing for people. I'm
Right.
not saying you're not going to like still like love your family and take care of it. Like, that's not part of it. Like a lot of people like to talk about balance, and I don't like that word at all. I think it's a big fat lie. I think someone in the 60s did it in like advertising and we all bought it. It's life is about rhythm,
Mm,
right? We all have different chapters in our life where we need to pay attention to either ourselves, our family, a person, our career. It changes. It's okay to grow and change. That's what life's about. We're not here to be one thing. Right. I don't know. Do you get people always asking you, what's my life purpose? Should my career be my life? I don't know. Your career could just be a way for you to make money, to do the things that bring you
right.
joy. Like we can reframe it. Part of my thing is I work with some people who are huge on social media. They have like millions of followers. They are exceedingly unhappy because they're so busy feeding a machine, and the machine doesn't really feed them back. Like they need the high of the clicks and the follows and the likes, but they're not earning the money you think they are.
Right.
And so it's a false reality. And I think obviously our planet is in a big shift right now. And the more that you can get real and be like, yeah, I do like it when people see my stuff, but does anything in my life really change when they don't? No.
Right.
I'm always hoping to meet people who need what I'm wanting to share.
I love that. I love that. So let's talk about your journey from being a producer in LA, which probably was super cool. Were you on any shows that we would know?
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Do you want to share?
So I worked in spelling television for a few years. So
Okay.
probably most people will know Seventh Heaven. I
Okay.
worked
Yep.
on that show. I wasn't a big deal on that one. I was just a coordinator. The woman who ran that show was not my favorite person. I worked on the movie Election,
Okay.
and I wrote an essay about being sexually harassed, thrown on a table, and dry humped in front of the crew.
Ooh.
Um, Prior to me, 3 years prior, 2 years prior to Me Too, and it went viral on Yahoo, Time. They actually published it without giving me my editorial notes. And it is back in the day when I was on Twitter and I had a pretty big following on Twitter. And I was getting all these messages saying, because I hadn't changed the names.
Ooh.
So crazy. But oh my God, can I just tell you something wild about that? I haven't told anyone this. This is a total scoop. A few months ago, I got a message, a DM in Instagram from someone who is the daughter of the man who did that to me.
Ooh. Ooh, I
Mm-hmm.
got goosebumps. Ooh.
Right. And I was like, ooh. And I read it, and basically her message to me was karma got him.
Ooh.
And I was like, I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that. I know what a challenging relationship with your father feels like. So I have great empathy. She's just the child
Right.
of the person. And she was like super cool and kind. And I'm like, I dug her. And I was like, well, I don't want to get to be friends with you, or I'm sure you don't need my friendship. But I thought it was so interesting
Yeah.
that it took 6, 30, oh, no, like it took a long, like 20 something years to, but karma, I believe in it. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
was fascinating. Yeah, I did all of that. And I think to be in LA and Hollywood for me back in the day, I gave all my creativity away.
Mm.
Right. So I became like more of a nuts and bolts producer where I was negotiating contracts with like the DGA and SAG and crew members and like spending all the money. Whereas really, I wanted to talk about like, how are we shooting this and what is the color scheme and what's the emotional truth of this? Like, that's what I really always wanted to do. But I did not believe in my own voice then. I did not believe in my own creativity. And I just gave it away, and people would take my ideas and I wouldn't get any credit. Like I wanted to pitch a dancing show before Dancing with the Stars. And
Yeah.
like the people I went to, they're like, no one's ever going to buy that. I should have done it without them.
Why do
Right.
you think you didn't? Was it a confidence thing? Was it a
Confidence.
imposter
Yeah.
syndrome? All the things?
I didn't own my voice.
Mm.
So the irony is, I was very lucky, and I had my daughter later in life than most people. Well, I guess average for LA, but later in life than most people. And I really wanted to be a mom. I waited a long time to be a mom. I waited till I knew my marriage was going to work, and I really wanted to be a mom, and I wanted to be at home.
Mm.
And then I went from telling 250 people what to do to having one person, and I didn't have family around me. And I'm like, oh my God, that was like so humbling and mind shifting. And then like having to go from self importance and whatever to not. But what it also did was I started writing again for me. And in that process, I found my voice again. And then my husband and I decided to leave LA. We had a very adult conversation. We asked each other if we wanted a life where we had to work hard to get by or one we could enjoy.
Mm. Yeah.
Yep. And so he chose North Carolina. He's like, you want to go? I'm like, okay. Not, I'm like, whatever. I tend to do that. And then we came here and built this life. And it's kind of more wholesome than anything we would have had there. And
Right.
that's pretty cool. The irony is when we moved to North Carolina, I found a community of creative people, of writers, authors, and editors, super published. Like I ended up doing retreats with Nova Ransuma, and she's like a New York Times bestselling young adult author. And my writing took off, and I started selling things, and I was invited on stage to share I was like, the irony is I spent 18 years in LA, couldn't be heard, but it took leaving and finding space. Like the community, especially children's writers, authors, they don't gatekeep information.
Mm.
So they're like, have you met so and so? Did you meet this? So I was like meeting all of these people. They're like, oh, what do you know? What don't you know? Let me tell you. Let me help you. And it was antithetical to the neurosis and fear of LA, which in the industry is, I'll steal your ideas. I'll step on you. You can't be
Right.
better than
It's
me.
like
I
kill
need
or
the
be
fame.
killed.
It is. It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, some amazing things come out of it and some not so amazing things. Like I was there during the Harvey Weinstein years. That's all I
Wow.
need to say, right? Like the attitude of the industry. And,
Right.
that's always the irony when I hear them speak up against things like
Yep.
actors, when I'm like, I know what's behind the closed door.
Right.
So it's, yeah. So anyway,
How did you, so let me
how'd I
ask you this.
switch?
Were you intuitive back then? I mean, did you know you
Always.
were, let me ask this. Did you
Yeah.
know you were intuitive back then?
Um, I mean, no.
Yeah. I mean, we're all intuitive, right? But it takes
Yeah.
us to get that, right? So how did you then switch from that, go, 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 go? Because obviously you had to quiet
Mm.
yourself to start hearing your messages and really tapping into your intuition.
Yeah, so I like to say that I used to be type A plus and now I'm A minus because I could get like as much done in an hour that some people need 2 weeks. When I
Girl,
focus,
I got
right,
you. Yep.
I'm with you on that one, right? I also need periods of rest and I no longer beat myself up for that. I couldn't
Yeah.
rest in LA. Like, you know, sitting down for an hour, I could have never done that. Taking a yoga class, it took me, I think, 10 years to find yoga because I couldn't
Well,
just go in there.
I mean, I work with women who are addicted to busyness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's also a way of, if you're addicted to food, alcohol, drugs, you're fat, drunk, addict. But if you're addicted to busyness, you get atta girls, right?
Yeah.
You get pats on the back, but it's the same thing. You're numbing your feelings, you're numbing your emotions. You're going to have a panic attack because you're stuffing everything down
Yeah.
and having to stop is too scary. So you just got to keep going, going, going.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of instances where I would see and feel things in like my life. Like everyone used to talk about imaginary friends, but I talked to a guy my whole when I was little all the time. And then like when I was 12, they said goodbye to me. They're like, you know, they won't understand I have to go. And
Oh,
I was like,
ah,
what? I know I
heartbreaking.
will never tell anyone their name because I keep that to myself. I still
Yeah.
know it. Um,
Have you reconnected? You have not
they won't.
reconnected? Hmm.
It was definitely like, you know, for me, I've heard from my other guides, it was specific for my fears then because
Yeah.
I had a lot of anxiety. Um, I mean, I would feel things, I wouldn't listen to it. And because I was like very alert empath because I had to be, right? So I was always feeling other people's things and trying to solve the problem, but like without a higher awareness. I'm like, my family is very spiritual. So I think I was a teenager. Did you remember Ramtha? Did you ever hear of Ramtha?
No.
Ramtha is this woman. I don't know what her name is, but the entity that she channeled was Ramtha.
Okay.
And I remember being this like hotel conference room, and this tiny little blonde woman came out and she was giving her shtick. And I mean, she was being whatever. I'm just using
Yeah.
the word. So, and while I was looking at her, she turned into a man and she was a young boy, like a monk, a young man, an old man, and all different. And then behind her were two guardians. They looked very Japanese to me. They looked very warrior like and they were massive, right? Huge. And during lunch, I was like, did they put something in the water? I was like, do you guys see that? They're like, what are you talking about? I was like, okay, that's one of those things I should just keep to myself.
Right.
Like the face I
Inside
see in
voice,
my
internal
chair,
voice.
right? I hate antiques because there's so many things attached. Like growing up, I had a desk chair that my parents gave me. It was an antique and had a carved rose. I kept my clothes on it because that rose turned into faces and they were all
Mm.
mean and scary. And I was like, fuck no. So anyway, after Ramtha, the second half of the day, Ramtha did a guided meditation, and you could, I being me, because even though I had no self esteem or belief in myself, I still did daring things. So it's like an interesting paradox. Ramtha was walking through the room while they were doing a guided meditation. I stood up and walked up to her, and I'm barely 5'5". She was maybe 5'1", 5'2". And I looked at her and I don't know what I said, but she stepped up to me and picked me up off the ground and hugged me. And I was like, this is not the person. This is the thing,
Yeah.
this entity. And they called me out on a secret and like something that I had a lot of shame around.
Wow.
And they were like, they said something. I was like, oh my gosh. So I was into like woo woo, but not really. Like, and then I got to a point, I think it was 10 years ago. Like my husband, I tend to have if I have a cocktail or two, okay, it's really two. I see dead people like the veil for me gets real thin
Yeah.
and they'll mess with me and they get annoying and they give me a bad headache and I don't enjoy the experience. My husband would call it, my witchy party tricks. Like I would just kind of mess with people a little bit at parties with my buzz. Like I would never read or do anything mean, but just like a little whatever. And then I decided, I was like, well, what if I can control it? Like if I could control
Mhm.
it, maybe it will help me, right? Maybe I can see what this does. So I studied with a few people and I got really good control. And then I was like, maybe when I'm in my 60s, I'll open an office and I'll start helping people. And I just had the thought. And then literally the next day, an acquaintance friend called me and said, are you looking for an office? Because I need a friend is looking to share a space. I was like, God, you are so funny. You are so funny. So what
Uh,
did I say? Yes, sure. And I
right.
just I just started and I was so afraid I wouldn't feel anything or like be able to do anything, but 10 years later I am still, doing it.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. So let's talk a little bit about real, not perfect.
Mm.
So, can you explain what that means and why the message is so important?
Sure. I think that our individuality is super important. And I think we are flawed. I used to always find the flaw in someone's appearance, and it always used to become like my favorite thing about them. Like whatever maybe they didn't like, I was like, that is my gosh, my gosh, look at that. That's just so beautiful. But I think this whole thing of perfect nowadays, we're so used to, first of all, I have so many issues with AI, right? Besides it stealing everyone's content, is we're not used to what faces look like. We're not using our own portraits anymore. I am firmly past middle age and I don't get to see many faces that look like mine. Like, of course, I have a camera and a light on because we're recording,
Right.
but I don't have a magic eraser filter. So I think perfection drives people in unhealthy ways. And it's kind of like what you were saying. They also numb with work. I have to be this. I have to be X, Y, and Z. I have to be needed. I have to be seen. I have to, and perfection is just a lie, right? I love the Japanese right theory of, and I apologize if I mispronounce it, but kintsugi, which is where they take broken pottery and they add
Yeah,
gold
yeah,
and put it
yeah,
back
yeah. Yep.
together. I love that because that is what life is. I also help people with relationships when I work with people and I'm like, you don't need the relationship to bring you drama because life will,
Yeah.
right? Like wildfires, things happening, accidents. Like if you don't have the drama at home, it's okay. It's supposed to be safe. It's okay to get used to peacefulness, right? And that could be really hard. And that goes into the whole like perfect. Whenever I walk into a house and there's like nothing out of place, I know something's amiss at the Circle K.
Right. I often have conversations with clients about perfection. I am not a perfectionist. I'm a get shit done. Like if you looked at my ceiling in my office, there's paint on the ceiling because I just needed the walls done. My husband's a little bit different. He would, trim it. I'm like, "Oh my God, just paint the wall," right? But I talk to clients about this and I'm like, "So tell me what's perfect." Right? Like, and they can't answer it. I'm like, "So you're constantly striving for something that actually doesn't exist." Like that is the truest definition of
Yeah, it me
insanity.
it really is. I'm not good enough.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's what's underneath
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
right? But there's this level of like, oh, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. And like, who decides what perfect is? And I'm air quoting for those listening, right? Who decides what perfect is? So there's
yeah.
constantly this need to achieve something that isn't actually even achievable.
Yeah, I mean, I can also be honest, right? Because I'm real. So I take, like you said in my intro, I'm a dancer. I still love dancing, right? And I take this K-pop dance class, which we learn the choreography of a K-pop artist every Saturday, like part of a dance. And I am clearly the oldest in the room. And I, like, at first that's always hard to like my own ego to be like, dang, right? Or but I'm like, hey, I'm there, I'm loving it. I still do it. And for me, they pick up quicker than I can. That
Sure.
frustrates me,
Yep.
right? Or, oh, they hit it better than me, or they have like stank face when they do hip hop. And I'm just so happy to be dancing that I have the opposite expression, right?
Yeah.
Um, and and for me, when I watch myself, because I'll record it, I can rip apart as if I'm still 20
Yeah.
as if I'm a teenager, all the things I could have done better. So for
Mm,
me, the thing I'm personally working on is like loving it because I could see my friends dance or other people dance. They might not be the best, or they like, and I love that they're dancing. I
right.
so for me, that's like part of my own little glitch
Yeah.
there.
No. I mean, we all have versions of it. Like mine,
Mhm.
I wouldn't call it perfect, but I like to do it right. Whatever that is, right?
Mhm.
Like help me understand how to actually do it and then I can do it. But if it's something for me, I can half-ass do it. Like as I was shuffling getting here this morning, right? Like it didn't have to
I
be
want you to pull
perfect.
a card now. Wait, I want you to pull a card. They're saying pull a card. I want you to
All
pull
right.
a card.
All
Pull a
right. All
card.
right. Well, I have three cards. I have three cards already pulled. So let's pick. So I have left, center, and right.
Hmm. No, they want one for top and bottom.
All right. All right. All right. Let's see. So this is the Angel and Aura deck
Hmm.
by Radley Valentine and Dougaloo Fraser. I
I was
um
trying to do a deck, but to get it printed, so much money.
I have a friend who does it, so we can chat.
Mm.
She's
Okay,
an
that'd be
artist.
amazing.
Yeah. Um I Hay House had so the top so there's never any mistakes when we do this. It's always somehow around the content. So self-respect and worthiness, self-worth, affirmation, independent and motivated. And throughout it, it has all these words: angel, leader, brilliant, confident, worthy, beautiful, queen, loved, and superstar.
I love
There's
it.
it. Let's see what the bottom one would be.
This one's going to be more grounded.
Now that, oh, yep, it's that one. I can already tell it's grounded. There's fire, there's darkness, communication, accuracy, expression, intimacy, honesty. And I
Look, and they're
love
grounded. They're on
they're
the earth.
grounded. They're on the ground around a fire. And they're all they're it's like they're playing the game of telephone because they're
Mm,
all whispering in each other's ears. I don't know if you can see.
nice.
Yeah. I love that. All right, we'll save the other three till the end. I love that. So those will be right. Those are holding the space
Hmm.
for those. Um, going back to Yummy and Cranky, right?
Mm.
Like that reminds me of like you can't have light without dark, right? So like for both of us that day, we were cranky. For me, it was I just needed to move my fucking body. I hadn't been moving, so all the energy was stuck in my system and I had to do some energetic work. I had to go yell and scream and punch a pillow and literally move the energy. And then I felt so much better. And I would say, it took me a while to do it. Like I knew for a couple of weeks I had to do it, but I hate doing that. Like, ooh,
Mhm.
right? I'd rather journal or meditate or talk it out. But I knew I had to do that. And that's my, I resist sometimes doing that, knowing that. But then after, right? So I sat in that ickiness of feeling it. But then after, so much more opened up. Like I have felt lighter and right? So, how do you manage that, right? Because we all have those bad days or cranky days or whatever we want to call them days. And we need those in order to then have the lighter days.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm very much an introvert in the morning. Like I just don't
Mm.
like talking. And I get a lot of work done. There's a German word and my husband put it on a mug with a cranky face of a cat on it. It's Morgenmuffel. When you say it with a German accent, it says different. It sounds different. I'm clearly not German, so that is how I say it. But it's basically not it's not a morning person, like shut up. Like don't talk to me. Just like let me ride, like let me get back into my body.
Mm.
When I don't dance, I'm cranky. I think as a young child, my mom put me in dance because I was very pigeon-toed as a kid. And back in the 70s, I don't think they understood that that comes from your hips. So by learning to put my feet in first position, she thought I wasn't, but whatever. But dance for me when I was young was a way to express emotion in a way because I didn't have words, vocabulary, or a safe space to do it. And it kind of continues to do that when I'm overwhelmed emotionally. I can go dance, and then I have community that we don't need to talk in words because there's music playing loud. Or
Yeah.
I told you also, I think before we started, I studied African dance for 20 years, and I'm part of a group of women who, like, I've been with them for 8 years here in Charlotte. It's Shea African dance,
I
and they're
love that.
amazing. And so I feel like I should tell you about them. Very welcoming group of women, and there is something about walking into a space with 12 drummers, very primal to like let it out. Sometimes my inner introvert can take control, and I will, just like you were saying, I will go really inside,
Mm,
which is part of why I joined a gym, just so that I have accountability. People now expect to see me on Thursdays.
yeah.
Expect to see me in this class. We're not the best of friends. We're all very friendly.
Right.
And but they're like, I need that because my introvert and protective part of me, I think, will take over. And then I'll just like look at the weights that I have in my house or all the things I know I can do. I also really walk in nature a lot. And I literally ground, and it's really cold where I am, so I don't want to do it now. But I find that being outside without my phone,
Yeah.
that
Mm,
really works for me.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's funny. I would call myself an extrovert, but post COVID, I definitely am much more. I mean, I'm certainly not an introvert by any stretch, but I'm like, oh, I have to leave the house. I actually just looked at my car the other day. My car is 5.5 years old. I bought it in um, August of 2019. It doesn't even have 50,000 miles on it yet.
I love it.
I was like, wow, you don't really go out much anymore. Where before I was like, oh, I was out every night of the week, but I know I have to, my energy, I need to protect my energy more and I have to be
Mm-hmm.
more thoughtful of my time. And so often in the past, I was just like, yeah, I worked out of the house and I would go out 5 nights a week and meet different friends for dinner and do the things where now I'm like, okay, I'm out on Monday. That means I can't go out again till Thursday.
Yeah, you have to know who you are. I think I was like I was saying before, like it's a chapter of your life, or where are you at now?
Yeah.
What works for you now? And it's okay to change things.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've faced in your journey, and how has that really shaped the way that you show up for your clients today?
I have had a
Your
lot.
experiences.
Yeah.
Let's use experiences.
My life experience, right? Like I've had a ridiculous amount of tragedy in my life. So I like to tell it this way. I'm sure before I was born, I was hanging out with God, and we were had a drink and a cigarette. And we're like, so okay, Holly, what do you want to do this time? Okay, okay, okay. You ready? You ready? Okay. So like I know I've been a healer a lot, and I know I've like been killed a bunch of times for being one. Let's like wrap all that shit. Can I clear up some karma? Okay, Holly, what do you want? Okay, so yeah, so I would like
Oh my God. If you're
I
not listening, go watch the YouTube because this is the best part of the conversation.
I want to like be with people who have come from generations of people with fear mentality and knowing persecution. Okay, I want some of that. And then yeah, I want yeah, and then I want my father to be an alcoholic, please. And then I want to be lose my virginity to assault at 15 and keep that a secret for 13 years. Okay, let's start there. Wait,
Oof.
and then I want to move as a junior and like have my house burned down. So like all my college applications to be destroyed and
Ugh.
have no friends or anywhere safe to go. Okay, and then move 3 times before I go to college. Okay, and then I really want to be able to be a storyteller, but I want all my professors to tell me no. I want them to because I studied journalism and history because I am fascinated by history. And they're like, you belong in lit, but whatever. All right, we'll keep going. And then I want a starter marriage where he's just barely physically abusive, but he's emotionally, mentally, and all the he's abusive. And his mom will wear white on the wedding day and tell me I shouldn't get married. How about that? Okay, okay. And then after that, I should get, harassed on set. Oh, and then I want to lose my house to an earthquake. That's a good one. Okay, so we got 2 houses. Okay, that's good. And then of course you'll have to move when you get divorced. So let's get rid of that too. Okay, and then I think maybe 3 miscarriages is a good number. Is 3 good? Is 3 good? And then I want to have to get my uterus just removed, right? Because I get sick. Okay, that's good. Okay. And then I want to lose all of my abilities because like I lose my second chakra. And then like, who am I? Okay, yeah. What else should we do? I don't know. What else should we do? Like let's figure that out.
Oof.
I think that's why I say your worst days don't define you,
Right.
but it's okay to take time to grieve
Yeah.
and process, and boundaries can change in your life. And I'm hoping at least 35 more years left here. Oh my gosh, like what's coming? I don't know, because COVID showed up. I didn't plan that thing.
Right.
So I think for me, this part of my life, for me, actually, this year is the year of being seen, because I reconnected with a woman I had gone to college with, and she is a big, famous newscaster, right? And we were talking, and she asked what I remembered about her, and I told her wicked smart, really admired her ability to like own it and be seen, because I was really insecure. And she said, "Do you know what I remember about you?" I was like, "I have no idea." And she said, "I remember you were wicked smart. You were really emotionally connected with everything you did." Right. And I rolled, if that sound. And then she said, "What you always did was take a step back. You
Mm.
always let others come in front of you who didn't really belong there." And even in my healing practice, when I go to support you, I want to make it about you, which is great. But now I'm understanding I have to own my voice and speak. I'm going to say last year was a year of getting more powerful, more empowered in
Mm.
who I am, my messages, and how I can help people heal. And now I'm just gonna own it, right? When I did a TEDx talk and they're like, "An intuitive healer, you're so quirky." It was so condescending,
Yeah.
right? So I want to like own it in a way that I never have, and I'm really excited about that.
And was there something that you can share with the listeners of how you've gotten from there to here? Like what did you do over the last year to kind of help you own that?
I call it the void. Do you know the void?
Sure.
The
Yeah.
void sucks. So many horrible things. It's almost like I had all of these highs, and I've wanted to do a TED talk for a long time, because also I love conversations.
Yeah.
I could sit with you for hours, even my
Right?
introvert, right? That I won't say anything for the rest of the day, but you and I will talk, right? And I love small groups of people, and I love energizing them. And then I retreat. I think for me, stepping on TEDx, the emotional toll that the process is
Mm,
really big, and no one's honest about it, right? Because people don't want to bash the organization. Obviously, that gives them an opportunity.
sure.
But the process was challenging for me, and the environment was challenging. It was also in a space that was used to be a church. And when I pulled up energetically, it was dark for me.
Mm,
So having to perform at a high level in a space that I did try to clear it, and I did a bajillion protections,
right.
and I don't want anyone to misinterpret that I think a faith is dark. It wasn't. It was the ground. It was the space,
The
not
space
the intent.
itself,
Yeah.
yeah.
I work with a lot of people who are very devout in their faith, and we get along just fine.
Yeah.
So for me, after that, it was a lot of questioning of, did I fall back into my people pleasing because I had to be a thing, that I
Mm,
had to present a specific way? And why didn't I fight when I didn't agree? And it's okay to own whatever. It's okay to be in the spotlight and help you.
yeah.
And I think like Oprah's in the spotlight and she helps, or Gary
Right.
Vee in the spotlight and helps. I think there was this one last karmic debt, is how I hear it, like a lesson in my life, the things that I have learned, that I had to go through the void. And when you're in the void, bless you, you're just not connecting to what you did, the work. You're not getting the return on the work that you think you deserve. And so for me, it was surrendering how I work and the outcome. And if That's so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah, and I think sometimes those experiences, right? I know myself, some of the hardest experiences I've had have given me the biggest lessons to help me next time. I had something happen a few years ago, and I remember reflecting on it after, and I was like, whoa, I was showing up in a way that I didn't like, and I had to have this thing in my face to show me, like, this doesn't feel good, and you gotta stop that shit.
Yeah, I've wanted opportunities and I've spoken at several events and this is funny. So here I am and I just asked for a podium to put my notes on so I can make sure because I like to go off track, right? I'm nonlinear. So
Sure.
when I'm giving a talk, if you've asked me to do something, I want to hit my beats. They called me high maintenance asking for a podium and I brought my own. They call me high maintenance for being upset that my mic wasn't working. So you see, like, so that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes when I've tried to step up, was the universe telling me not to do it? Was the
Yeah.
universe saying this maybe is not an energetic fit? But my ego, because I got one, right, was like, but this is what I want to do, and I have to get better. The only way to get better is to go through fire. Or is it? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes it's also like seeing an opportunity and being like, maybe this isn't what I thought.
Right. Right. Yeah, we talked about intuition earlier, and for me, um, I struggled tapping into my intuition because I would see things, not like things
Mhm.
that weren't here, but I used to lead teams, so I really know my intuition is more of just a knowing, which is a really hard one, right? Because I just thought it was like, doesn't everybody know how to read people? Like, I just do. And I would say things to people and they'd be like, no, that's not it. Or I'd be like, that just happened. And they're like, no, it didn't. So you go talk about lying, right? So my intuition, I would have people lie to me and I'd be like, no, but it's purple. And they're like, no, it's not, it's green. And I'm like, no, I really think it's purple. And they're like, but it's green. So I didn't trust me because people that I did love and trust were telling me something different. So I had to like learn to block that all out and be like, you can think what you think, but I'm going to still believe what I believe.
Yeah, I love the knowing. That's like that's my favorite thing. That's the one thing I get the most messages from clients about. They're like,
Yeah.
"Did you know that 2 years ago you said this and this is what happened and it's happening and I thought you were dead wrong and you were 100% right." It's like, "Yeah, thanks." I had one client, he was he was a super thinker and he came in and his arms were all crossed and he was all defensive and I was like I said I don't really understand like what's going on. I'm like you came here so like let me try to meet you where you're at but like I just can't get past the word banana. I'm like all I'm seeing is bananas and I don't what is with bananas in you? He goes I told myself if you were real you would say the word banana.
I
And then
love
he
that.
relaxed. But I was like, why? Like, you're paying me. Like, why are you testing me? That's so
Right.
crazy. That's so crazy.
Wow. I love that. I love that. So we could talk forever.
Yeah.
But I always love to ask a final question.
Mm.
What is something that you live by that you want to share with our listeners?
Life's too short to wear uncomfortable bras or be in uncomfortable relationships.
Oh, love that. Love that. You do have a freebie. It's a chakra clearing meditation. We'll put
Mhm.
that link in the show notes. Do you want to just talk explain what that is a little bit, or is it pretty self-explanatory just by?
It's a longer meditation, and it really will ground you and reconnect you. So anyone out there who's feeling a little edgy or uncomfortable or like I can't meditate or I can't do this or that, it's a very gentle way to bring you deeper into who you are and bring clarity for you.
I
So
love that. I
just try
love that.
it.
Yeah, I love that. So I do have three more cards. So I'm going to have you choose one and the listeners. So we have one on the left, one in the center, and one on the right.
Well,
So
I say right.
I knew, you know what? I had my right hit when I was going to do it earlier. I was like, she's going for right.
Well, it's right, but like I'm thinking it really meant left for you because like I usually mirror people, but I'm like, I'll just say it.
All
It'll right.
right. Everything's okay. Reassurance, support, guidance, overseen. I love
Ooh, the
that.
444. Okay.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Yeah. I love that. All right. If you chose center, don't compromise. Boundaries, assertiveness, courage, unwavering. Beautiful.
That's for a listener. All right, what's on the other one? The
And
other
the
one's
left is
this one's for you.
energy healing, holistic well-being, thriving and vibrant.
For two energy healers. I love that.
I love it. I've been doing this since the podcast started, and I picked the deck ahead of time, and it's almost always the theme is based on on the conversation, and I love it. It makes me so happy. Holly, thank you so much for today. It's been so much fun. I think we could continue talking, but I don't want the listeners to have to, run over. So thank you. Thank you to the listeners for joining me on today's journey towards a fulfilling and inspired life. I really hope that this episode encourages you more to trust your inner wisdom, embrace your purpose with clarity, and remember, transformation starts from within. Take a moment every day to connect to your higher self. Trust the universe's guidance towards your highest good. And if today's episode resonate with you, please share, subscribe, leave a review, do all the things. Your support really helps us to reach more souls on their spiritual path. You can stay connected with our community. Both mine and Holly's links will be in the show notes. And until next time, keep shining your light and walking in peace and love. I am Francine Tirrell, and this has been Effin' Fridays with Francine. Thank you, Holly.
Thank